Drift.
Fast and Furious. What's that? I don't want to sing it because they sing it in like a really Asian accent, and I don't want anybody to think I'm rude.
But yeah, so Tokyo 2020 is on.
Yeah, and they're going into lockdown, so fans can't even watch.
Yeah.
Don't you love the Olympics?
And yeah, there's a lot of controversy going on with this year's Olympics.
I mean, there's always crazy shit that goes on in Olympics, but it's usually like exciting stuff, like, you know, but this year it's just bullshit all fucking day.
Make it make sense.
So which part of the bullshit Olympics do we want to talk about first?
Well, let's start with
Sha'Carri Richardson.
Mm-hmm. Let's start with that because
because she smoked weed every day. Just kidding. I don't know what she does,
but then I got high.
Yeah, but then she got high.
She was going to the Olympics, but then she got high.
She was gonna win the race.
Yeah, so let's just talk about that for a minute. So everybody is fucking fired up that she was banned for a month because she smoked weed. Mm-hmm. But let's just spit some straight facts here. She signed a contract. She knew she was not supposed to smoke weed, even though it's not going to enhance her performance at all, because if anything, it's going to hinder her performance because smoking is not good for you, not good for your lungs. Mm-hmm.
And it's illegal in Tokyo, by the way.
Legal in Tokyo, and it's illegal in what, like still 85% of...
A lot of countries, it's completely illegal still, yes.
So, I mean, if you sign a contract and it states there zero tolerance, that's zero tolerance. That's nil, that's none, that's, you know, and if you're gonna be dumb enough to smoke weed with the Olympics coming up, knowing that you are going to be drug tested... That's nobody's fault but your own. It's not because she's black. It's not because there's no racial bullshit behind that. That's just a contract and she broke the rules and there's consequences. And Michael Phelps was banned for 3 months for having a picture of him with a bong. He never tested positive for marijuana, but because this picture circulated with him holding a bong, that was enough to ban him for 3 months. And ladies and gentlemen, Michael Phelps is white as fuck. Yeah. So I don't think that's a race thing and everybody's throwing the race thing at that. And let's stop making it what it's not and quit fueling that fire and that division.
Yeah, there was an article, I forget which stupid ass news outlet wrote it, but it said, Black woman Sha'Carri Richardson suspended from the Olympics for being herself. And then in the caption thing, it said, can you believe that black women are being suspended from the Olympics just for being themselves? And then underneath in smaller text, again, it says, banned for being herself just because Sha'Carri wanted to smoke weed. And so I follow this girl named Ada. She does a Different Voice podcast, which is an amazing podcast. She's saying how, like, why the fuck is smoking weed part of a black woman being herself? Like, a lot of black women do not smoke weed. And so how offensive is that fucking news place to be like, all black women are fucking potheads and she was just being herself, so that's fucked up and racist. Like, no.
They're trying to put a spin on it to make it racist, but then you're racially profiling your own people.
Exactly.
In a bad light.
Yeah, it's like you're making all black people look like potheads. Do you not realize? And then so, yeah, it's just super stupid. And so Sha'Carri Richardson actually took more responsibility for her actions than the internet. Like, the whole internet, all these social justice people and celebrities are shouting from the rooftops and making memes about the fact that it's unfair that she can compete and all this bullshit. When Sha'Carri was like, you know, yeah, I know the rules. I signed the thing. I fucked up. Like, my bad. Like, that's all it should have been. She got caught for weed. She apologized. We move on. But instead, people want to make it about them and fucking die on a hill for fucking some reason about it.
And I haven't confirmed this, but I don't really. Well, I should look into it myself. But I can't say this is true for certain. So I got to look into it. But it was also stated that she was banned for a month And she's not missing the entire Olympics either.
No, she's only banned from the one competition.
First one competition?
Yeah. It was like the 100-meter dash.
Because of
that's
the
just
timing.
That's just where it falls, and then
after that she can compete again.
Yeah.
So boo-hoo.
So Michael Phelps, by the way, that was racist against him, I guess, because I don't fucking know. But you know what? I will say that the Olympics has always seemed to have kind of they don't like Americans. I noticed that Americans get fucked with a lot. And in the past, Americans seem to kind of get because the
shitty end
America,
of the stick.
Fucking America, people, the whole world was kind of like,
America, disrespectful hillbilly motherfuckers.
If they're gonna break the rules because they think they're fucking so cool and American, then we'll fuck with them. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's a race thing. I think it's a culture and Westerner thing. But who knows? Who fucking knows?
Maybe
Truly.
it's just a North America thing. I don't know what you want to call
And so I really didn't like that people were posting oh, she can smoke weed. She can't smoke weed, but this person can lift weights against all these women, that's a really bad comparison. Why don't we talk about the Namibian women?
Nambian?
Namibian women. So do y'all listen? Lauren Hubbard, the first transgender woman to ever compete in the fucking Olympics, qualified for the New Zealand team. Lauren Hubbard, when she was 35, was a male.
35 years old, and that motherfucker was weight training as a fucking man. 35 years old until she decided to start transitioning. 35.
Yeah. So
and she's 43 now?
43, yeah. So that's 35 years of testosterone and building muscle in a man's body. And then whoop, transition. You still got all that muscle, girl. You still got all that strength, girl. So I just feel like it is so unfair and so anti-female for this ex-man to be participating against. It's
a fucking disgrace.
Yeah,
it's fucking embarrassment to the Olympics, and it's a fucking slap in the face to the women who are truly fucking female bodies competing against a man.
Yeah, I saw a very good protesting sign that said, women's sports is not a retirement plan for male athletes. And that's 100%. How many failed male athletes have we seen now transition? And I'm doing transition with air quotes because it appears that they have not changed anything about their body. Yeah, maybe they're taking estrogen, but for the most part, they have all of the same parts, the same structure and things
this
Lauren Hubbard.
Literally, all that changed was, from what I can see from the pictures, that she grew her hair out.
Yeah. And changed her name.
Still looks like a man's body, and not whatever about your armpits, but I don't know, what is this? What is this turning? It's turning into a fucking circus is what it's turning into. It's a freak show.
Yeah.
What? I mean, I don't know. Don't you think you would want to embody the feminine side of things if you're going to transition? Isn't that part of identifying? Why do you identify as a female if you just want to look like a fucking dude with long hair?
Well, exactly. And that's why I 100% feel like it's just a man who had failed. Thought,
and he
I
had
can beat some women.
literally failed. Literally in the article said that he did not make the men's team.
And so
did not qualify.
He had set a record in New Zealand, I forget when, but then the very next year somebody broke that record, and then that next year he transitioned into a woman. And it was all right, if I can't be the best in men's, I will be the best in women's. And it's how do you even have any pride, or how are you even proud of beating a bunch of women, it's
gonna be really interesting to see how this all plays out.
Okay.
It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out and see how well she performs at the Olympics. But I don't know. I kind of have like, I don't know, maybe a little conspiracy theory of my own that so either it's going to go one or two ways. She's either going to go in and completely smash the fucking records as a female weightlifter.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Or she's going to go in and she's not going to smash any records, and then they're going to use it and be like, well, see, transgender people don't have any real advantage, and use it as a ploy to start introducing more transgender people into female sports. If you want to be transgender and you have a true
Gender dysphoria. Learning the terminology. This is something that I never really put any thought into it before, you know. But now until I put too much thought into it.
Yeah, with like social media and stuff, like it's trendy now, right? So like more and more people seem to be transitioning, like, you know, you don't fit in a certain group, you're not good at this, and you just turn into the opposite sex so that you can fit in or be good at something. But yeah, like I think, and if that's the case, like if you truly like have that dysphoria, don't you think you would be transitioning a little bit earlier? Like it's not like it's
well, people are using it as like a thing now instead of like do they have genuine dysphoria, or are they just like trying to fit into a certain demographic because they can't fit into any others, you know?
But like if anybody thinks that it's fair that she was a man until 35 years old and was weightlifting as a man and then transitioned, and if you think that the hormone blockers are going to make that big of a difference, fight me. I don't give a fuck who you are, fight me on it. Let's debate it, because
there have been studies, and it shows that like if a man transitions to a female and then now as a female he's taking estrogen and testosterone blockers, his maximum strength is depleted and speed is depleted by about 10%. But like that's still, even without 10%, you're still way stronger than a woman, like generally.
Well, yeah, like generally, like I would say like men are probably, 50% stronger than women. Depending on like what you're doing, like an average person,
like the average, like I feel like if a man's at 200 and a woman's at 100, you know what I mean? Then, and all of a sudden you're 10%. So then you're still at 190 and we're still at 100. Like, you know, like.
And if you've built your muscle, and this is something I'm going to have to look into, but if you've built your muscle with testosterone in your system and then you switch and start taking estrogen, but if you're continuously training, it's not like you're going to lose all that muscle mass.
Exactly. And
your muscle memory.
There's a transgender man that I follow on Instagram. His name is Marcus, the offensive tranny on Instagram. But he was talking about this, and he thinks that this is just so wrong. And he thinks that the only way that something like this would be fair is if the man was taking estrogen blockers since puberty, because then you don't gain any of that male muscle and stuff like that. Like you basically block any of your male muscle to develop, which is a scary thing to even think about. But yeah, that is the only way that it would make it like genuinely fair.
Yeah, and then like what a slap in the face to the Namibian woman who can't run in the 400 meter because they have naturally high levels of testosterone, but yet they're letting a man that's transitioned into a woman lift weights against women. Like what? Like if you're like, gonna make it make sense.
Yeah, that was so crazy. Like literally, they little bit higher natural testosterone levels disqualified them. Like, so then how can it be fucking qualified for a absolute? Like that's just insanity to me. And like while we're talking about this, let's just touch on this whole bathroom thing real quick. Did you hear about that?
Yeah,
at the spa, the Korean spa. So. Yeah, a woman and her 2 minor children are chilling in the spa, you know, and a fucking transgender woman walks into the spa, full towel open, dick and balls in front of 2 minor children. And now something a lot of people don't realize, and I found this out by doing the research and looking into it and like watching hundreds of transgender people videos, when you have gender dysphoria, you're disgusted by your gender. Like, for example, if I had gender dysphoria, my boobs and my vagina would be disgusting to me. I wouldn't want to, you don't want to look at them. You don't even want it to be part of you because you're like you can't identify with it because you're like a boy in your brain and then these boobs are on you and you're just like, gross, 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 get off me. And so transgender women, like a lot of them don't get the surgery because the surgery is very dangerous and can have all these complications, blah, blah. But, you
better believe that they're going to be tucking that shit up way high and you ain't going to be seeing it.
When they go into the women's washroom, they are very respectful. They want to identify as a woman. They don't want to make other women uncomfortable. That is why I believe that these people who are going in these women's change rooms and flashing their dick and balls, it's a fetish. You're not a transgender person. That is a fetish. That is, you are just using this to gain access to women's spaces.
So you can be a creepy fucking pervert and a fucking pedophile in broad daylight.
Yeah. Like, you should see, if you're ever like questioning what we're saying right now, look up how many fetish pages there are of transgender women, basically a man who puts on a dress and some lipstick, and they go into women's washrooms and change rooms to jerk off, and literally like in public. So they're in a stall, they hear other women and children walking in and out of the bathroom, and they're jerking off and they're filming it. And it's like, I went down like this transgender rabbit hole because I just couldn't believe that, actually, it was when the whole super straight thing launched off. Like, people thought super straight was a joke, but then it turned into this whole like movement. And basically all these transgender, like, so these men put on a dress and lipstick and then they say, I'm a female now, you have to date me. And lesbians were like, I don't want to date a transgender woman that has a penis. I don't like penis. And so these transgender women were like, that's transphobic. You have to suck my dick, you lesbian. Like, that was what they were fucking saying. And it's gross. It's like this whole TRA activism culture online. And the sad reality is most real transgender people, like, you can look up Blair White, Contrabands, The Offensive Tranny. Like, there's a lot of really smart, real gender dysphoric transgender people who have respect and understand like real people, that say these weirdos who are flashing women in bathrooms and doing all this weird stuff, they do not represent the real trans community. They represent some weird fetish pedophile community. So yeah,
it's just one of those things, like, too, with like kids and stuff. Like, I think like people are trying to, you know, encourage hormone blockers so that they can make their decision for themselves, but it's like, just let them be fucking kids. And you know what? Social media is like one of the worst things that you can let your kid have, because then they're influenced. Influenced. It's not that they're making these decisions and coming to these realizations by themselves. It's like all of a sudden their favorite star comes out as lesbian. And then
or non-binary
or non-binary
like
or transgender, and it's like, oh well, and like, look at how much support they're getting, look at how much attention they're getting. And then that's too, like, parents, you know, sometimes too, like, it's like they're trying to get attention from it as well, and then they're getting all this attention for being a good parent, for letting their children decide, and then they're pumping their kids' tires. So of course they're gonna want to do that. Just let your kids be kids.
Exactly.
And don't fuck with their hormones until they're at least 18, and then they can make their decision themselves, and they can decide what they want to do. Because kids change their minds all the time. And like, why do you think like kids aren't allowed to drink alcohol until they're 18?
Or smoke cigarettes.
Or weed.
Or play the lottery. Like,
it's because they're not developed properly yet. Yeah. And to fuck with their development, not fucking cool, man.
Yeah. Like, if my mom had been a trans rights activist when I was young, when I was a tomboy, like, I would be a dude right now, because she probably would have been like, you know, like these parents take, like, a kid plays with a Barbie one time, they're like, my kid's transgender, haha, I have something to virtue signal about online, like, and then, oh, this is getting me attention because I'm being so supportive of my child. Well, no, you're not. Like, if I had leaned into when my 10-year-old wanted to fucking cut her hair really short, like, she could be on fucking puberty blockers by now, but instead I just was like, all right, let her do it, you know, just let her do what she wanted, and now she's being girly again. Like, kids go through phases. You can't fucking put them on medication that'll fuck them up for life. And it does fuck them up for life, no matter what people say to you. Hormone blockers when you're young, puberty blockers, are very damaging long term. And people keep lying about that, but the facts are there. So
yeah, so look into it.
Look into it and fucking look into it more.